Hello, everyone. Thank you all for joining in today. On behalf of Art and Artisans Group India, I'd like to welcome our guest speaker, Urja Garg. Urja is an art historian, writer, and independent curator. She did her post-graduation in art history and aesthetics from Maharaja Sayajirao University, Baroda. Her research focuses on the popular visual culture of India and unravels the sophisticated systems of power that exist beyond these appearances. Her inquiry resides in how visuals for mass consumption result from and shape the popular consciousness that define cultural identities concerning nation, class, caste, and gender. She is the founder of Hileri Arts Initiative, an independent curatorial platform that supports a community of young art practitioners and writers during this pandemic. So here I present Urja Garg. Thank you, Urja, for being with us.
Thank you, Priyanshi, for this wonderful introduction. This paper, when Priyanshi approached me that she wants something for the art and artisans, I thought of going back to a paper I presented at the National Graduate Seminar in Baroda. So some of you might be acquainted with some of the charts that I'm going to talk about. But this particular paper deals with women and domesticity. So it deals particularly with the depictions of women in popular culture that have been propagated over centuries in Indian history. So I'll just start by sharing my screen. Right, can you see my screen? Okay, so So this paper raises an inquiry into the modes of representation of women that are surreptitiously linked with the discourses and the goals of nation building that run parallel and shape the popular culture of India, as contextualized by Paula Rothenberg in her essay, Integrating the Study of Race, Gender and Class. Talking about gender without talking about race and class, or talking about race without talking about gender and class, is simply another way of obscuring reality instead of coming terms with it. Throughout this paper, I explore India's socio-political and economic arena that had a direct influence on the depiction of women in educational charts. The early 20th century in India is when the ethos of industrialization, nationalism, and a need for mass education of Indian public coincided. The rich visual culture of pre-print India adapted to the new technologies of lithography and chromolithography ushered into the subcontinent over the course of 19th century and gave a rise to a syntax of imagery that was a direct offshoot of India's vexed entanglement with industrial modernity. Thus, advertisements, posters, calendars, and other forms of print media developed for mass consumption by Indian consumers. However, a series of these cultural productions formed an integral part of the Indian nationalist movement and later seeped into the primary school curriculum of independent India, where education came to be regarded as a matter of primary national importance and an indispensable agency in the difficult task of nation building. The institutions of family and school became the focal points in the discourse of nationalism, and distinctive roles according to gender and class were redefined in the same light. In this paper, I will closely look at some of the educational charts printed by Indian Book Depot in 1970s to the contemporary times that highlight the complex relationship between nation building, gender, and consumer culture that has continued in India's post-independent era. Often regarded as aesthetically low or dismissed as kitsch, the mass-produced prints have their structural blueprints and codes of functioning that are defined by the audience's taste and likability. Hence, it is also important to understand what was being produced before and during the production of educational charts in order to understand where the imagery is coming from or what the audience demanded or bought, as contextualized by Patricia O'Brien concerning the popular culture. The plagiarism of successful images is a routine practice, and the same image, more or less, may appear and reappear over decades under different signatures, including those of long dead artists. As one authority has described it, the production of calendar art is essentially a process of citation and collation, that is, of continual recycling of familiar images in imaginative new collages. This kind of recycling does not only exist in context with the popular print media, but also different genres and cultural formations where dialogical, intertextual resonances can be observed. While often considered as cultural productions of the past, the mass produced prints that were produced pre independence were greatly influential in framing the visual culture of post independent India and led to the formation of an iconic society, or in Benedict Anderson's words, an imagined community. Introduced by the British in the educational system, the use of charts for primary school education and adult literacy programs expanded post independence in Delhi. Printing presses such as Indian Book Depot took up the production of educational charts, which became inexpensive and more widespread in the 1970s with the technological developments in offset printing and their wide acceptance in schools all over India. Located in Old Delhi Sadar Bazaar, the Indian Book Depot was founded in 1935 and shifted to Delhi in 1947 after partition. With their bright colors and strong visuals, the educational charts were easily accepted in the classroom and stayed very much within this context. These charts not only inform the students about history, science, geography, health, culture, religion, etc., but also morality and correct social behavior. Women's education in India. Women's education in colonial India was initially seen as a means of uplifting the woman's status in Indian society by attacking institutions of specific cultural norms regarding child marriage or widows as taken up by Arya Samaj, rather than really educating them the way men were. The story of change in the life of the Indian woman, in its early phase at least, was influenced far more by social reform than by education. Women were a cultural rather than a civic concern, and this was more so in a colony whose own cultural practices were firmly grounded in patriarchy. In the 1920s, the colonial planners and nationalist organizations had cast women as essential agents of Indian nationalistic development, interweaving the aims of household health and national well being. At first centered in the colonial metropolises of Calcutta, Bombay, and Madras, they, the westernized middle class Hindu elite men, sought to counter the British censure of Indian culture and tradition by reforming and improving their women and transforming them into virtuous, educated companions. This yielded to a new patriarchy as the nation came to be valorized as a home and family whose well being could be guaranteed by the figure of the educated mother who raise their children into productive citizens. The inclusion of religious texts such as Manusmriti in the educational system during the nationalistic phase further solidified the role of women within the four walls and as the bearers of Indian traditional culture. Reiterating the Bharat Mata. The depiction of a woman follows a single prototype throughout these educational charts. In the thoroughly westernized spaces, the only indication of an Indian or Hindu setting is the female body with its traditional sari, except when she is in a uniform, which is also a rare sight, minimal jewelry, West inspired hairstyles, and a figure conforming to the full breasted, wide hipped ideal that is found in calendar art. This obviously Hindu appearance is more and more of a problem, not to mention an embarrassment for the secular Indians, as was when the woman was anthropomorphized as the Hindu mother goddess of nation and played a seminal role in the Indian nationalist struggle as contextualized by Sumati Ramaswamy in her book The Goddess and the Nation, Mapping Mother India. Home science and nation building. One of the earliest primers of domestic science in India linked the promulgation of the field to advancement of national health and hygiene, which suggested that women would play a key role in nation's development. Domestic science courses in high schools, for their part, broke down the components of an ideal home into discrete lessons on the scientific principles and methods of house cleaning, cooking, first aid, and laundry work, lessons that were to be mastered by girls in a classroom before they put their lessons into practice in their own homes. The connection between the maintenance of the home and uplift of the nation grew more explicit after independence. The home science cooking and utensils chart serves almost like a household manual for women that were printed in the domestic science textbooks for high schools in 1920s. Over half of the illustrations in the chart offer visual descriptions about various kinds of kitchen utensils and technological appliances that are to be used in a modern kitchen. The next half are meant to teach the woman about how and where to use these utensils that have been depicted above. She can be seen cooking chapatis, roasting, frying, boiling, cutting, and cooking vegetables, and grinding by hand or mixie in the next few registers. The man only appears in the last two depictions at the time of taking meal and when the meal is being served by the woman to the whole family, which is also deemed as one of her duties. Subsequently, I will be exploring more such depictions that promulgate the relationship between woman and domesticity. The ideal family. According to post-war modernization theory, the nuclear family of the modern Western type, comprising parents and two unmarried children, a boy and a girl, is demonstratively the family form best suited in its requirements of a modern, urbanized, industrial society founded on individualistic values. Corresponding to this, immediately after 5 years of independence, Hum do, Hamare do, we too, ours too slogan was propagated by Indian government to stabilize the population growth for economic development of the country, and India's first condom brand Nirod was introduced in 1968 as a part of the campaign. The family chart serves as a moral guide for family planning. The first register depicts a joint family. The second register depicts a small family, which includes a married couple and two children, as opposed to the large family with four children depicted next to it. While the former stand facing the viewer, aware of being looked at and posing for a family picture conforming to the European aesthetics of portraiture, the latter subject are unaware of being looked at. While the mother and daughter duo of the large family are busy with their domestic chores, the woman of a small family is depicted as if she has no duties to perform in her household. Rather than performing in the kitchen and doing household chores, the woman is shown to stand next to the man rather than performing in the kitchen. And these serve as an apt representation of how the image of a woman alters with her economic class and highlights the prevalent trend of representing middle class domesticity without depicting women engaged in the domestic labor, which is mostly associated with the lower classes, a trope that is still being used by the advertising industry. Notions of domesticity can also be observed in the depictions of the grandparents, where the grandfather seems to be in a deep contemplation as he reads the newspaper, and the grandmother knits with a gentle smile on her lips. This is to depict the everyday life of senior citizens after retirement, the former from his job in the public domain and the latter from her household duties, roles that are now to be fulfilled by the kin of the next generation in the sequential order. Women on work. While boys were given education on the account of economic necessity, it was not the same for girls. Rather, the sight of a woman entering a public space after getting a job was looked at with a great suspicion. In the post independent India, where more middle class women are going to college and taking up jobs, traditional stereotypes still prevail, even amongst those who claim to be anticipated. In the Woman on Work chart, printed post 1990s, we can again encounter the cultural biases which are associated with women in the public sphere. She can be an office secretary, not the boss, a model, not a photographer, an air hostess, not a pilot, pursue music and painting, but she is not an artist, a news reader or a teacher, but has to wear a sari, traditional Indian woman's clothing at work, a sports girl, a physician, a telephone operator, or a sales girl, all of which are deemed as appropriate professions in the public sphere for her. The depictions suggest the de-emphasis on speculation, intellection, and caritas as feminine and justify the limited role of women and femininity by holding that the softer side of human nature is irrelevant to the public sphere, not wedded to achievement and productivity. Another profession that is attributed to her is of a housewife who does cooking work and is also a mother. Ideal girl. The chart Ideal Girl was printed quite recently in the 2015 in the lieu of the Me Too movement upsurge. The publishers of the Indian Book Depot thought it to be appropriate to add to their log a chart that would act as a moral guide for young girls. We have a chart for boys, why not girls? Harish Chawla, the owner, said during an interview in a very proud tone. The ideal girl is instructed to help the mother in the kitchen, an event which might have taken before the man of an ideal boy serves him food in the other chart. She is further instructed to decorate the house, participate in games, which is ideally badminton, learn stitching as opposed to the girl. An ideal boy need not help his mother in the kitchen decorate the house or learn how to stitch. Moreover, he is depicted playing football, which is stereotyped as a man's sport, and join NCC, instilling in the young minds that only a man is capable of protecting their country, but has no role to play in the domestic sphere. Undercurrents of Hindu nationalism flow underneath the educational charts as the boy worships Lord Krishna and the girl goddess Durga. Domestic servitude is undeniably stigmatized and is also taken as a normal and ingrained element of household life. The social relation between masculinity and femininity is normalized, such as the dominion, dependency, and equality are not only tolerated but accepted and are reproduced through everyday social interaction and practice. Those living in a particular culture of servitude accept it as a given order of things, the way of the world and that of the home. Such depictions in the educational curricula become even more problematic as they feed the narratives existing in the adult world to the fragile minds who take it as a given order of the things as they grow up. The interrelationship between household materials and identity of the female teaches the girl child that as she grows up to be an adult woman, she will partake some of the roles as the woman in these depictions. Since the narrative is normalized and is also given authenticity by the mass media, she might not even contest or recognize that there is something problematic with the meaning making processes in the first place. As Gayatri Spivak asks, can the subaltern speak? And where, if at all, is one to locate the woman's voice against patriarchal dominion if patriarchy is to define the initial condition of a woman's existence? Contribution of women in Indian society has been historically undervalued. The educational charts are no exception to this hegemonic position and are detached from the contemporary concerns. Despite considerable changes and reforms in the education of women and a growing awareness that the roles of women are not limited to home and reproduction, the charts reiterate the narratives in the contemporary times. Educational charts printed by the Indian Book Depot continue to be used in major areas of North India, specifically in government schools and schools of rural areas, where they are largely unquestioned by the students, teachers, school authority, educational ministry, and the government. As Sirish Rao has argued, the most careless of the charts can actually damage the understanding of the student by disintegrating both facts and rational structure that any form of education requires. They can be seen as propagandas which mirror stereotypes that cater to a certain political and cultural ethos and surreptitiously continue to pass the same to the future generations. Even though the legitimacy of these charts has been questioned by many scholars and the sales have declined due to the availability of personal computers and printing machines in the urban counterparts of the country, they nonetheless remain inscribed in the psyche of its consumers. In other words, the image wields far greater power over our imaginations and passions than the real thing. Educational charts have played a seminal role in crafting social, economic, and political identities in India post independence. In the absence of alternate means of representation, this hiatus between everyday life and educational charts will continue to expand. According to me, even the smallest of changes can make a difference and rupture the current ideology. An apt example would be the recent change of nomenclature of the Faculty of Home Sciences at the Maharaja Sayaji Rao University of Baroda to Faculty of Family and Community Sciences. My analysis can further be beneficial in the academic field in reconstructing and reintroducing apt visual aids in the classrooms. Thank you.
Well, that was amazing, Urja. So we are open for questions. If anybody wants to ask any questions, please go ahead.
Hello, Ursha.
I,
How do you, I just wanted to know, how do you find the changing of the name problematic? Do you find it problematic?
no, I was saying that it was a change. Even smallest of changes can count, and it was a good change. That instead
Okay.
of calling it home science, they are calling it with the Faculty of Family and Community Sciences. So it is not only related
Mm-hmm.
to home anymore or the domestic sphere. It goes much beyond that.
Okay, okay.
So I feel similarly, these little changes also can play a lot of difference. Just by changing little depictions, and I think my analysis will be beneficial in informing those who are making these charts, and also the people who are just accepting them in the educational institution without questioning them. So I think that I can't provide any alternate means of representation because this has been going on from centuries. It's been more than 100 years now, and we are still depicting the woman in the same way. Even in 2015, we are getting a chart in which same depictions are repeating themselves, and not only in popular print culture, in movies, in other advertisements, and so many other forms of media where these narratives are reiterated again and again.
Urja, hello. Yeah. I just wanted to make a point of view about the subjectivity of the home science or this subject of these kind of subjects which I actually had an encounter with a person from Thailand who had done the same subjectivity like subject known as home science, but it has been it has a broader as broader range over there. It is not something that is specifically uh, specified for a particular gender or a specific role of subjective about nutritions and all. They have moved into experimentations and sciences, and and she was asking why within this region, South Asia, like India, Pakistan, and all of us, I think Sri Lanka, we are these subjectives are not moving further. I think the subjective itself has to be modified. I think not only the role of gender classification, because I think it's high time that we move away from to move to broad aspects. I don't know if I feel like it is like that.
Right, right. Also, Chaturi, this idea of nutrition and home science is pretty new, because earlier when the subject was introduced in the 1920s, women were being taught about basic things about hygiene. They were being taught about what are the utensils that you can use. So this shows how the subject is also evolving in the 21st century. However, the connotation of gender it has with these kind of aspects, it is still there.
Mm-hmm.
um, it is evolving. The subject in itself now offers a vast area of study. In fact,
Mm-hmm.
I know some really independent women around me who have done this course. And at that time, it was called home sciences. And now they are running the clinics and whatnot, and earning great amount of money. And so via this subject also, they are moving into the public sphere. So it is not limited to women, right? Getting it in
Mm-hmm.
that way. But this association, even in the woman on work chart, even if you go out of your house, you have to come back, be a mother, and you have to tend to your kids. And that is a given. So that is something that you are not separate, of. And these charts are still in print. So all
Oh.
charts are still available in the market, and easily you can order them. You can just order them online, and they all will be available. They are still being used, still being mass produced. So
Yes.
that is really problematic. That is even
Yes.
more
Yes.
problematic than the
Yeah, it's very interesting to see that. I was a little shocked with the family, that ideal family union, like a mother, father, and the whole extended family. This is supposed to be called as a family. It kind of, it's gonna be a very difficult chance, atmosphere to introduce. I don't know, in future, to introduce the family, with the whole queer identity. If this is what we are teaching for our kids in such a young age, I think that would be a very difficult thing. I was kind of shocked, because if this is what is being taught for a kindergarten child, to do all those little paste books, cut all and if this is what they believe as an ideal family, I don't know how do
Chaturi, I think it is a matter of unlearning. I mean, not everyone has unlearned over the years. So
Mm-hmm.
even Urja mentioned Manusmriti and the text which talk about what is the duty of a woman or what is the duty of a man,
Mm-hmm.
everything. So those things are not unlearned. And it's funny that growing up, I saw these visuals, and in the Uncle Patti, what do you call it? I don't know. Like the IE, those books, those images. Even there was that hint of what whose duties is to be matlab, like a woman, or all that. So going back, it is also nostalgic in a very weird way, but at the same time, it is marking the way education is happening in the
But
country.
irony is also that, this is the, if we look at it, this is the age of, like, what, 1, 2 to 5, 6. This has been taught, isn't it? Like, these images.
primary primary education only.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah, it's like, it's gonna be absorbed like some sponge into their system.
there have been a lot of critiques of these charts, and cinematically they've appeared in this movie Swades. Then they were there in Fukre. The movie starts with this educational chart of
Oh.
an ideal boy, and then you see them critique in Priyesh Trivedi's work very clearly. He borrows the imagery also from there. Atul Dodia's work.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a lot of there's a lot of critiquing, and this book by Sirish Rao, he also critiques these charts, and it is the criticism is there. And I think in mostly urban schools they are basically not used now, because people have personal printers and tabs, and it has gone more electronic in that way. So nobody buys these charts, and even the publishers are really now they've started to make new things. They're making stickers and patani what not, uh,
Oh.
to make sales, because they are
Mm-hmm.
depending in sales. But the audience in rural areas and government schools remains the same, because over there it has not touched the so-called the industrial revolution, or maybe globalization has not touched. The
But
technology is not yet there.
Urja, I think through the I don't know, in school I think those stories of Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, they came and they started introducing these things. I think much later probably, not they were there, you know, these stories. If
Right.
if things like these are, you know, taught to the children or encouraged, probably new things will happen, you know, new understandings will happen about gender.
Right. And also it's very interesting how they are going back to the, you know, the religious uh, depictions of Amar Chitra Katha we've seen. So you see the woman is being portrayed in mythological tales in the same way also. That is also going parallel with it in comics and all. Like you've seen Amar Chitra. I think Chitra Ganesh has brilliantly critiqued the comic to all of it.
Can you just explain what is Amar Chitrakuta, because I'm a little confused over here.
Oh,
I'm so
Chaturi,
sorry.
long story. I'll tell you. So basically, it's a religious text, and I'll tell you later. It's a long story. I mean, I could
Right.
show you the magazines. I have a write up on that as well. I'll show it to you.
Okay, thank you.
Cartoonist Shankar Pillai, and he started making children comic books in India for the first time. And he was famous. He was very famous. I think he used to work for Hindustan Times, if I'm not wrong. He made Hindustan Times what it is right now. And he used to make political cartoons. And then he thought, okay, I will start this. And then the series of comics were produced.
Oh, I
Hi,
got it.
hi, Urja.
Hi.
I would like to add something here. I think this charts and the subject which you have chosen, it is the issue here is of the ideology. How ideology are at work
Mm.
in the idea of like propagating imagery and propagating the basically how do they use it as a tool. So yeah, and one thing about this that you are talking about the name of the faculty here, family and community sciences. So there is a strong intention behind it. The vice chancellor of MS University then in 1949-50, Hansa Mehta.
Mm.
So he was very much aware of the fact that we are entering into independent India, and so it needs to be redefined. So there was a very good intention about it. So basically, it was a move towards women empowerment. You can say. I mean, you can read about it how Hansa Mehta.
Right, right.
And,
So, Hitesh, I think during the 1950s, I think feminism in India was different. At that time, still women were not accepted in the public sphere. You'll see it in many movies that not a lot of women went to work. It mostly none of them went to work.
yeah, it was a beginning, a pedagogical
Right,
beginning.
right. So you can say the first wave of feminism of India was about making the household duties of a woman into something respectable, into something that is, not deemed as labor. So you see the images of Bharat Mata coming in with the household utensils, and there are a lot of imagery. There's a lot of imagery. In fact, if you remember, Polomi has written consider in a great detail about it. And so the Abanindranath's, image of Bharat Mata also is coming in. It is all a part of the nationalist struggle. And as I said, that these charts borrow from the imagery of pre-print India also. So it is a continuous legacy that has been going on. And my main critique is that it is okay for 1950s, 60s, 70s for them to do this. But now feminism is changing. In 1970s we see other kind of feminism, and women are going out there working in the public sphere. The small scale industries are on a rise. There are more job opportunities, there are more educational reforms that are being made for women. And now the condition is, I think we are very evolved in that way. Especially the urban counterparts within, you see patriarchy, but see the progress. I would like to take a very optimistic state that I am here sitting, giving a talk about women and domesticity. It is possible right now. So I think there is a reform, but we can't just, feed the same narrative to the primary school children, and not only girls, also boys, because then they feel, okay, this is only something which is to be done for women. And now it creates a hiatus, a great hiatus, because you see women working, they might have working mothers, but still they would feel ki nahi, mama kaam karti hai, but still she has to work in the kitchen, I can't work in the kitchen. So you see, so they reiterate again and again. This becomes problematic, and the ideology seeps in this way. This is how the Hindu nationalists also, since I've mentioned it, there is a strong undercurrent in these charts, that this
Yeah,
ideology, you see the media is going on critiquing. What I meant to say is that gender is not irrespective of religion and class and caste. So a Dalit woman being raped versus a Muslim or a Hindu woman being raped, they're two different things. Getting it? I mean, that is how caste enters it. Then class enters. What is the economic viability of that particular woman? Then there comes religion. Kis religion se ho? Matlab, there are so many factors that are leading to a double marginalization of women who are not Hindu elite, or you can say the built around the idea of the Bhadralok, the Bengali Bhadralok. So, so all of these aspects govern gender. It is not irrespective of what is happening in the society. It is not detached from it at all. That is how I see it.
yeah. The irony is these charts, they are still like being used. Like I had experience of like working in government schools, like this primary school. So I got a commission to like decorate the classroom, and it was a tender of like so many schools in Baroda only. I'm talking about Baroda only, and it was a shocking experience to visit every school. So in one school, it is here in Kareli Bagh, and you won't find it like limelighted ki here a school like this can exist. But when we went into that school, so in the classroom was very small, and in the classroom there was no chart, and there was this chart of human body, like the parts of body which is like this is finger and this is elbow, this is arm, and that was juxtaposed by Asaram Bapu's poster.
Huh.
So this is the irony which exists in the same city. We see, if we are talking about family and community sciences, we are talking about Baroda as a smart city. But in the same city, and Kareli Bagh is not that like outskirts place.
Right, right.
It is very in the middle of the city, but schools like this exist. So how things have been marginalized, and this basically these ideologies are at play in government schools mostly.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Right. And I think even mostly the charts were stopped. I think after 2000s, these charts gaining these charts were not being used much in schools due to technological advancements. But before the 2000s, these were widely used because there was no other way. There was no other way to tell a child that this is the body part. Getting it? There were no diagrams. These charts were only basically the only way for them to know. and there was no mention of the ideal girl chart. Then you have to remember, before 2000s there was no woman on work also. Probably it was not even in circulation at that time properly. So you see that before the 2000, before the liberalization, I would call it, 1991, and after that the economic boom, uh, I think the nationalist ideology is more or less the same. And I think it becomes problematic in now 2020, even more matlab abhi के time, because to say things like that women are wearing saris to schools, and uh, they can't, even now in schools I've seen that teachers are not allowed to wear uh, western clothes, right? I mean, one of my masi, she teaches in a school, and I think they're not allowed to. She wore this there was this teachers meeting, and she wore a very good dress with off shoulders and all that, and the teacher said, no, no, this will not go to students and all, as if too western for them. So all of these notions are there within schools, which are reiterated by women. And of course, as patriarchy is not limited to men, it is also ingrained in women. So, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so building on what you said, so I was just wondering, like the other day, like women, while they are working, they are also expected to be in the house. So like obviously we all are young and people are asking us, okay, when are you getting married and stuff like that. So for a man, it's never like that. Like, okay, so you're working, you're earning, that's it. But for a woman, one has to work at the same time. She should know that she is supposed to be in the kitchen, which is happening even in 21st century, and it's quite shocking. Like it's very normalized, like the chart says, and how deep it is, but like it's very shocking for me as well. I'm just building on what you're saying. Yeah.
To the point, I wanted to add up, like you were talking about how an educational system still like this. Even at homes, we are taught, like, we are girls, so we are supposed to learn embroidery and like home decoration. Even I would like to add up there. So, my village still there, like, for the state government, the girls' school and all, for the 6 to 12th. So still, as a extracurricular subject, you have to take, or even teachers suggest you to take this embroidery, like we call it asana, like you sit on it, right? While, like,
Mm.
from the earlier generation, so you need to do embroidery on all of this. So, and guys are supposed to take like, cricket or football or any sort of this thing as a extracurricular subject. So, even girls are into, can be into sports, or whatever they like to, they can take those subjects, but they're not given. And another thing I wanted to say, this session was so nice, it kind of brought up this thing in my head. Like, my mom works for Anganwadi, if you know Anganwadi system for the rural this thing. So there, she has been posted now, like in the village where it's a total Muslim area, and she gets in contact with these mothers, because this is for just children till 5 years old, because after that they are sent to primary school, so they are supposed to get nutritional value and food and whatever, and normal basic education, like all the letters and all. So she gets in contact with these mothers also, who comes with the kids, and there are still women who gets beaten, and so many uneducated women and all of these. And my mom sometimes tried to like even with the kids, whoever is interested, whatever the mothers are interested, she'll ask them, okay, like, if you wanna, you can join here, and with the kids you can learn all this, because they are supposed to learn, teach the kids like some recitation and small it's not poem, I forgot the term, what you call it, for the kids, you teach them those yeah, so those things. So she tried to educate them, but can't go like to the families and all, because there are lots of restrictions for the Muslim women. And they kind of, so that's what, like, there also you talk about the chart also, the chart I saw in my house, because my mom, from the government, it has been given in West Bengal, right? So those are things I really, it was I can have a conversation with my mom regarding even the chart, and even, so this session was really nice. And thanks to Urja.
Thank you, Preeti. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I have a question. Like, I just want to know that what are you doing in your like what are you doing further in this context?
What
Like,
am
what are
I
your
doing in this
yeah
context?
what is your next step to develop this recharge?
Okay, so Ritesh, on a very practical level, away from academics, we now run a feminist group. It is called Feminists in Solidarity, and we are trying to cater to these questions only. And we have continuous sessions. Asavari, Preeti, Chaturi, we are all a part of it. And what we try to do is through our sessions, we try to generate a dialogue and bring about these narratives on the surface so that we empower more women around us. So on my account, I am trying to do that. Academically, if I write a paper and I present it, I do not think it makes much difference on a ground level, and I completely accept and take responsibility of it. And as I said, that gender is not irrespective of the class, caste, and religion. It is very difficult uh, 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 for us to empower women. Uh, because sometimes they are in a loop, and it will be very romantic to say that such a woman who is not financially independent, dependent on the husband for everyday things, and not well educated, taking care of the babies, if the man is not good towards her, she can't leave the marriage. It will be very impractical to say that because she has nowhere to go. So keeping the romantic notions aside, we can, what we can do as individual is we try to come together. We as artists like you guys can really make a change by offering new visual aids for children. If someone would like to do that, like there are artists like Priyesh Trivedi who are critiquing them, but my point is, what are the alternative means of representation? Has anybody thought about them? We are critiquing these, but what is the alternative? So maybe we can steer the discussion around that. Now I think, now I would like to work on that more than highlighting the problem.
That's why I mentioned the Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, those stories, there was this male and the female, brother and sister. So those were stories which really they brought about issues at that time, and it was free. Like in my school, after primary, I think they just came in, and those were some visual aids which were actually helpful, and not just questions about through the image that a woman should be like this or like that, but simple rights. If there is a mango and it is cut, then the brother will get more half of the mango, and the girl will get less of that. So these questions only started being triggered, and we started talking about it in class. So I think that is that. But also, Urja, I wanted to ask you this. What do you think? I mean, it's not a bad thing, right? If a woman chooses to do become the homemaker, or that is not the argument at all here.
No, that is
Right.
not
It's
that.
the
Yeah.
inevitability of the idea that
Hmm.
इसको तो बनना ही है गृहिणी. That is wrong.
You know,
So
I just wanted to ask one thing that how you encountered something from looking at the chart to discover that thing in the market or somewhere. So, do you feel like going to where these charts have been circulated to the government schools and classrooms and talking to those students? Do you
I
feel like
have, I have actually, right. So, right, I visited Indian Book Depot and had interviewed Karan Chawla and Harish Chawla, both of them. But let me tell you, it is in deep, it is in Sadar Bazaar market. If you see there, you will see no woman working over there. It was very difficult for me to go alone there, sit in their office, which was quite small with two men. So it was very weird for me to be there. I went there and we were talking, and I was asking them about charts. And Harish Chawla, in his own words, told me कि लड़की को तो स्टिचिंग आनी ही चाहिए. अगर पति का कभी बटन गिर गया तो कैसे लगाएगी. These were the words, and I don't think I have the authority right now to go and change something about it. I heard it, I could not say anything. Even though next to me Karan Chawla was sitting, which was from a younger generation, he understood the flaw and he's like, okay, in cities women are working, but in rural areas, it's still there and women need to learn how to stitch. So all these notions were there in the publisher's ideology, and the publishers are the main, I think, visual framers of the charts, because they are the ones who collect the material. They decide the subject matter and everything. So the artist is there, but the artist's presence is very I don't know, very commercial, you can say. The artists move in and out of the press. There are many artists that were hired by Indian Book Depot, and the artists do not have the authority to influence the visuals. It is the publisher's choice. It is also not a government's initiative. It is a private initiative, and Indian Book Depot is a private publishing house. Similarly, rest of the publishing houses that were there all over India. For example, there was this Sri Ram Madurai, Mahesh Arts, and Shivakashi in South India. So there was this constant exchange of imagery between these publishing presses also, and all of it was governed by the publishers and not the people who were actually making the charts. Also, a lot of reference material came from the pre-independent Indian posters and Western textbooks, Western children illustration books. So you see that the imagery you see right now in front of you uh, is a, I don't know, it's a combination of digital manipulation and a lot of handwork is also done in it. But it's all now, all the plates are not functioning, so it is all going digital, and they are no longer producing the prints in offset way. They're going towards digital printing. And also, these are mass produced, so they already have lakhs of charts in production. To change the imagery of these charts, complete revisioning is inquired. And also, I think a thorough uh, क्या बोलते हैं उसको, updation or analysis and audit of these institutions as well is required, who are supplying textbooks and charts and other visual material to schools particularly. That is required, and that is to be taken by the government only then it can change, because no private initiative can change unless and until these guys have this authority over them, telling them to do this or that. They can't, because there is this aspect of economics also there in these charts, because they are not for they are not free. One chart is for 5 rupees. It has economic value to it. So it is a part of the consumer market rather than independently existing. These are not prescribed in the schools also. They just cater to the demands of the school, these publishers. So the school people ask them, okay, we need a chart on a girl, for example, because now there is this ethos, and the school asks the publishing house that we need this, and they respond to it. Publishers also are responding to what the schools are telling them. So it's this whole institution. I tell the publisher, but the schools won't accept it. Getting it? It's this whole cycle that has to be changed. Right. Munira has raised hand. Guys, are there any more questions?
Yes, Surja. So I have another question, which is, so I was wondering that the publications that you're talking about, I do you think it's more like rural related problems? Because like now that we have mobile phones and stuff like there, where we have these ads and we have the films, the Bollywood films, the different kind of regional films, different erotic films, which is very easily accessible on phone. So what do you think the impact of them is on the kids or the adults imparting education to
Uh,
the kids and I don't know.
I think these charts, I was having a discussion with Jyotinder Jain, who has a great collection of educational charts before the Industrial Revolution hit and offset, they were basically handmade before they started printing in a digital form. So he told me that do not make the mistake of thinking that these charts are not influencing the urban minds in any way. And that is because it is only recent that industrial revolution hit the country, and for so many years they have been there constantly. Even after digital media is there, even after scholars are critiquing it, even in urban counterparts of the country, the same narratives can be observed. No matter how rich you become, no matter how urban you become, these stereotypes are something that you'll still see in everyday life around you. You'll still see, you guys, when I showed these charts, Asawari and Preeti told me that they felt nostalgic. That means they've seen these charts. That means it is still there in this education, this particular generation as well. And me talking about it, I have also seen them in my childhood. Uh, I was born in 1996, and that just shows that even the digital revolution is seeping in now properly, probably after 2000, 2010 or something. Before that, it is still there. So our childhoods were stained. So we don't want that to happen to the next generation. Maybe it might happen to the next generation as well if we do not think about alternate visual aids for children.
Okay, but do you think like the YouTube and like obviously YouTube have various contents, but the mere representations of women in media is kind of fueling the fire. Like it's kind of catering to these charts in a digital way. Like they're just like building upon the ideologies that these charts represent visually.
Definitely, and so many advertisements also. If you see, I mean, Rin ad, and as a
Yeah,
washing
Tide one,
a
the
tide.
Tide one. Yeah,
Woman is doing all the cleaning, and
yeah.
it's all there. It is all there and entering into cinema as well. And from what Preeti said, I was reminded of this movie Dolly Kitty that I just saw. So there was this example of this boy who didn't want to go to a railway museum. Instead, he wanted to go to a doll museum. So that shows how gender narratives are being played in schools from a very young age.
Yeah.
Does anybody else want to ask something?
Pooja, hi.
Hi.
Sorry I was late and I think I missed everything. I just reached on to discussions on. Apparently, I did figure out what we are talking about, but if you could just brief it a little. I mean, what exactly it was.
Talha, basically, I talked about some educational charts, and I was highlighting the representations of women that are associated with domesticity. Like there was a chart of a woman working in the kitchen, then there was another chart where she was shown of being at work, and she was still, one of her works was being a mother and working in the kitchen. Then there was this ideal girl chart where the girl was instructed to help the mother in the kitchen. So I just contextualized it in the nationalist, in what the depictions of nation building and all were associated with women in the 1920s and the domestic science courses and all that. I'll send you my paper, and you can also go to my blog, Urja Garg.
I think I saw that on your blog. Is it
Right.
something
So
related?
Right, right. So some of the charts are similar, but this is a more thorough analysis with a lot of historical backup to prove my points. Not just highlighting the problem, but why they exist and what could be the solution. Also, is something that I discussed.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Do you think there will be an alternative visual aid? Matlab, will there be in the institution? Do you think they can allow that?
I think these charts should be banned entirely. There should be no chart showing women at work, and there should be no chart telling of ideal boy or ideal girl. Also, these all of these charts are problematic. They should be put out of print. When I talk about new visual aids, I mean these visual aids should not be there in the first place. Secondly, I
Right, right.
even if you want to make a chart of showing people on work, people at work, then make a more inclusive chart where both men and women are there. For example, if you choose the
Mm-hmm.
profession of an air hostess, then make both man and woman over there rather than just depicting the woman. So all of these, I think there can be a lot of alternate ways of representation. Having given a very even minor thought, that is what I said. Even minor rethinking on their part can change the whole scenario. It requires a lot of supervision, and I think it is the lack of Indian educational system also, that they are allowing out sources to be prescribed in schools that are not passed through census. I mean, they should be censored, and there is no
Mm-hmm.
organization censoring the inclusion of such materials. So that is a big failure on our part, and I hope the new educational policy might change some of these things, because it is it it might reconsider the uh, depictions, but then again it is coming with an agenda, as we all know. So how far the agenda will help, or I don't know. I mean, we don't want it to be saffronized.
Yeah, true.
Is there anything else that you guys want to ask?
There are some interesting points made in the comment section as well. Yeah, about advertisement. So,
I'll read them.
Pooja, if you can,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Sharvari said, also in private companies of food and cleaning material like Parle-G, Nirma, Amul Girl have also become the national mascots while promoting the same notions related to girl, although they comment on issues while trying to approach liberally. Right. And then there's a comment. Yes, also in private companies of food and cleaning material like Parle-G, Nirma have also become like national mascots while promoting. Okay, ये तो same है. Okay, sorry. True, Shaivari. Advertisements have been always indicating their consumers a certain role they are obliged to play. Learning keeps happening at every stage of social reforms, even though they are depicted in a technologically developed liberal way. Also, yeah. So this starts a discussion on how they think that they are promoting it, but they are not doing it. For example, to make a chart, calling it Women on Work chart, you are trying to say that women are now free of all the notions that they had, and now they are entering the public space. And the publishers are really proud of these charts. Specifically, they showed me these charts, and yes. So this idea of being liberal or being progressive, it is also problematic in certain depictions. It becomes problematic when it is not well informed. And the only thing that I think lacks here is a little bit of information, and really little is required. I mean, if you think that it's just a small rupture that has to happen, and then I think this all will stop. And I think these ads of Nirma, Amul Girl, and all these were also critiqued. They have been repeatedly critiqued. And yesterday I was seeing this ad of utensils, and Sehwag was there, and he was I think it was the ad of Vim cleaner. He was there telling you that, okay, clean it like a player, something like that. So that was, I think, there is rethinking happening in the advertising industry. The image of a man cleaning utensils, advertising. But then also there is a patriarchal aspect to it, because the way a man is shown in the advertisement, like clean it like a player, is not the same that a woman will be shown with. The woman will be like, you're the best mother because you're able to clean it on time, something like that.
Yeah,
So
same
yeah,
thing happens with cooking as well. Like, I'm sorry. So it's like a woman is cooking all day, but like if you go in a well-established restaurant, the chef will always be the man.
right, right. I mean, some people go as far as saying that, men excel because they're the best. Even in cooking, most most are men. So men are inherently more intelligent and everything. Some people go as far as saying that, and that is problematic, right? So yeah, I think these are the problems, and they have to be addressed. And one of the ways is to have a discussion about them. Anybody else? So, Priyanshi, can we wrap up then?
Yes, Urja. Okay, so thank you so much. That was a very lovely session. Thank you so much for doing this for us. And if somebody wants to get in touch with her, just visit her blog. And she recently founded Gileri Arts Initiative. So you can also log into her blog. And if you want to know more details about art and artisans, we have the website. So you can log into that as well. So thank you so much for being such an active participant. Thank you so much for joining in, guys.
Thank you, Priyanshi, for this opportunity. I feel very good that
Yeah.
I could put forth in front of the audience. Thank you so much
Oh,
for participating. Thank you, Asavari, Chaturi, Preeti, for being here, Anushka for being here, Talha, Mahavir, all of you people. Thank you so much.
thank you all. Bye.